Hey, this is Josh
and Carolyn
with Homesteading Family, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pantry Chat, Food for Thought.
This week we are chatting about the state of the homestead. This is kind of our conversation about what's going on and what's on our minds.
Spring is, for us, is almost here. For some of you, you maybe are already relishing
I've been
spring.
Hearing from some of our viewers and listeners that they're already in 80-degree weather. And I gotta say, I might be just a little bit jealous right now.
Till July.
Sounds nice. Until July, yes.
And then,
80 sounds
then
nice.
they can be jealous.
100 degrees, not so much.
Yeah. Well, it does sound nice right now. I agree. So anyways, we're going to dive into that. But so I think we'll forego the chit chat for the moment because we're
just going to keep chit chatting.
Plenty of chit chatting to do. And we'll take some questions of the day. But first, we want to say thanks to our sponsor for today. That's making this episode happen. That's ForJars.
ForJars. We really appreciate that ForJars doesn't just provide products, it also emphasizes the lifestyle of preparedness and self-reliance. So it's making sure that families are well equipped to be able to handle whatever's coming at them. So we really appreciate that.
Y'all know we're behind that.
Yeah. It's deeply rooted in the homesteading community, engaging in collaborations and promotions that uplift other homesteaders, preserving experts, and with those with similar values. It's just so important to be feeding into our communities. And we really like that ForJars is doing that. They're really making a lot of connections for people, but they're really involved in the homesteading community and just making this lifestyle more accessible for a lot of people.
Cool. They're also giving 10% off to you guys for your first order with the coupon Homesteading Family 10.
Right.
We'll leave a link in the description below. Make sure and check them out. You are going to need your canning lids and other supplies before too long. I know it's gardening season we're thinking about, but we always want to be thinking ahead, right?
So if you're looking for any preserving supplies, make sure you go check out ForJars.
Absolutely.
Okay, questions of the day.
All righty. Well, I think we can both bat this one around a little bit.
Okay.
Because this has to do with our retirement plan, right? Except for we don't plan to retire.
Retirement
specifically.
plan. Okay, read the question.
Right. Terry asks, what is your plan for when the kids grow up and move out and you're getting older?
Oh, just vacation. That's the whole plan. We're going to move to Fiji, Mexico. Where do you want to move to?
Yeah, wherever food grows on trees. That's it.
There we go.
Pick food from the trees and have a hut in the sand and it's all good.
Yeah, eat coconuts. Right? Lots of coconuts.
I want the mangoes myself.
Okay,
mangoes, a few coconuts, papaya here and there. Take a banana.
Well, we have a ways to go before we're actually facing this. We do have kids starting to leave the house already, but the baby's 2 years old, so we've got a ways before we're empty nesters.
I gotta say, we will have to produce a lot less food.
Yeah.
At that point. Now, I think there's a hopeful ideal just to dive into the waters here. And, we've got 11 kids. Some are going to go out in the world. Our oldest is going out in the mission field. That's his calling. That's great. Some are going to do this and that. Some are going to want to be close. Some are going to want to work on the land. So the odds are that we're not going to get older and be alone, all by ourselves. Could happen, but not likely. We're not planning for that. And we're not raising and creating a family environment that plans for that. That there is some ongoing collaboration of doing things together where we're all contributing to the common good, as you will, even if, everybody's not living under one roof in one house on one property. And there's still a lot of ways to do that. One of the reasons we came to where we came to in a move was to be able to hopefully have it more possible, right, for family to live closer. Where we were at before, it was like, there's no way they're going to have to go here and there and to create that kind of community,
right,
even within family. So I think that's part of the picture right there, is that we envision families still working together even as we age, and that, yes, they're still contributing, but we're still contributing. I mean, there's a point where I suppose that stops, but I hope
I think that's
put me in the
just
ground at that point.
Is that, it's going to kind of depend a lot for us on who wants to stick around and how close they want to be here and how much there's family collaboration. And that has a lot to do with the kids, and their decisions as they get older. if it were to be just Josh and I, we could produce pretty much all of our own food on drastically less land with a lot less work than we're doing it now. The other side of that is that we would have less hands and labor, so there is a trade-off there that a lot of many hands make light work,
Yeah.
But they also eat a lot of food. And so as you reduce those mouths to feed, you're also reducing the amount of work you have. So it kind of keeps in balance a little bit. But if people want to stick around, if kids want to be close, and then, maybe we do whether it's big canning days where we all show up and work together, or it's, joint ventures on growing livestock or dairy animals or whatever it is, then we'll be able to kind of parcel out work in that way.
So I think there's like two veins to just get a little more like technical planning to think about besides kind of the ideology or the broader picture. One is lowering overhead. Okay.
Right.
So having expectations of that time of life of what is our overhead. So removing debt completely. We do have a mortgage right now and we're paying that off, and making sure we're planning to have expenses in general as low as possible, but within a quality of life that we decide we want, or that is doable, but it is an intentional plan to lower overhead. Your property's paid for, your vehicles are paid for, you're not technically responsible for all the kids and all the things that come with that at that point in life. Overhead can be very, very low if you have some of your key pieces and you're being responsible over time. That allows us freedom with our time. Of course, if we're taking care of our bodies, we're eating well, ideally, we're hopefully healthy and moving well. So lowering that overhead and taking care of ourselves is part of setting ourselves up, for that.
Yeah.
I think the other part is systems, and something we talk about all the time is having systems in place to make the work easier.
We're really seeing that pay off
right
now. We've seen that this last year. These systems that you've been putting in place has made the work, the chores up in the barn, the chores around the property, so much easier. And you just want to always be headed that direction, right?
Yeah. And so as we age, just like I used to build homes for people that were, they were custom homes, pretty nice, but not extravagant. But they were aging in them. They were retiring and aging them. And so we had to think about their movement through the home, the movement through the property. And so we need to think about the same thing maybe within the homesteading. I don't see us, stopping ever, like growing some vegetables, having chickens, maybe we're not milking the cow anymore. I mean, I don't know exactly what we're going to do, but we want to think towards that and create systems that as we age, we can move through those systems. I know for me, I think about, fruit trees that we can easily harvest fruit from. They're close to the house. We kind of know where we're going to be. Lord willing, if nothing else changes, we know the house we're going to be in. It's either this one or the one next door when we get older. So having fruit trees close by, having raised bed gardens that are maybe raised bed up higher, like this table, and so it's thinking through, to me, that type of movement. Both now as we create systems for the long term for whoever in the family more runs the bigger farm, but then how do we navigate those spaces and how do we set spaces up for us to continue to do these things easily and well.
So what are the things you would say we're doing right now to prepare for that?
I think right now we're still, with a large family, focused on developing, the overall property for systems for everybody to be able to function well and smoothly and not fighting against the elements. So whether it's barn systems or pantry systems or watering systems, we're working to make those more efficient, more doable. And so we continue on to that. And that experience will also feed into our own experience, in time. And I'm blessed to have done some of the work that I've done where I've got maybe a little more rounded picture of having helped people build homes and establish rural property and into retirement. So I feel confident that we'll be able to do that for our movement side, where we can still create some of our own food and grow it. So I don't know, those are the two key things is planning, getting systems in place to make movement through life easier, doing what we do, and then lowering overhead, which we're not in that phase of life, right? We're about somewhere at the peak for us with kids just starting to leave the house, but still kids coming up and, eating a lot and a lot of movement and vehicles and, all the stuff that we do, just lots of people movement.
Yeah.
So we're at the climax of that. We're going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the other things we're doing right now, and you kind of touched on this, is you and I are both kind of doing a midlife health check-in, right?
Right.
From doing a bunch of lab work, reducing toxins, checking what our toxin load actually is. We're doing some other things to make sure, all of our dental stuff is caught up and working well, and all the other elements of our health, getting in shape and different things like that. So that's another part for us of just kind of that retirement planning, is make sure we're taking a moment and going, okay, let's check our health right now to make sure we're well positioned to move forward in a healthy way.
I want to encourage those of you that are there or on the same journey planning there, that when this is all for us, we're down this road, right? We've been raising food for a lot of people for a long time. So for us, I go raising a lot of the food for Carolyn and I.
Oh, it sounds so
Yeah,
easy.
that sounds so simple. And it will be because of the developed skills. Now, I'm not talking about raising 100% of our food. We're going to get older. We're going to slow down. And so we're going to plan for what do we actually put our efforts into? What do we team up with family on? What do we buy? But I want to encourage you guys that you can do more than you think you can, maybe at this stage in your journey. As you build soil, you build a property, you build systems, you can actually be pretty productive and get the workload down over time. It doesn't happen in a couple years. We're talking 5 years, 10 years, you're getting there. But you can. And if you have the resources to accelerate those processes, you can. You want to buy more mature fruit trees. If you can do that because you're already a bit older, do that. Find the right place for them.
That's a good thought.
Find those places that you can invest in now to accelerate that journey. But it is, once you're there and you've got fertile soil and you've got systems and you're landed, you can actually create a lot of food. You may not be managing a dairy cow or a big cow, but you want to grow most of your veggies and fruit and some nuts and eggs and, raise a pig or something, and then buy a little milk or whatever. You can do a lot. I want to encourage you in that with good systems and some knowledge.
Yeah. Good.
Cool.
Okay. Next one. This was from the video, The Harvest That Boosts Fertility.
So a harvest that boosts fertility. That both tripped us up.
I read that.
Did we make a video like that?
Oh, is that why we have so many kids? Like, what harvest is this? Okay, we're talking about garden fertility and the harvest.
And what do you harvest to increase garden fertility? Play on words. We were a little dense when we read it. Hopefully you're quicker than we are.
Okay. Well, manure for those of you guys who have not had your coffee yet this morning. Could you share the layout for your barn? We're looking to build something similar and would love to see how you set yours up and where you store food close to the animals, etc.
Hey, we did a video on just that and it's out. So we'll link it here, right? There for you, and we go through the whole thing. I think, don't we have a download? Did we provide a download somewhere? It's in the video. We go through it in the video and actually not only walk through the barn and tell you all about it, we created an actual layout, kind of a blueprint. I'll use that word loosely. You can see it in the video, but you can go download it somewhere as well.
Yeah, I think in the blog post that's attached to it.
And I want to say I've answered a few questions since then, and the idea is not to build a barn exactly like ours. Ours is huge. We had some of the infrastructure. We're not only raising food for a lot of people, we're setting it up so that if some of the kids want to go more business-minded, small scale farm, they can. But if you take the principles from that, you can still build something even really small and create something for you. So go check out that video, and I think that'll help you out.
That'll be a good one. Okay, let's go ahead.
Moving on.
Well, okay. I want to tell everybody right now about a project that we've been working on. Some of you guys know about the Homestead Kitchen magazine. This is a magazine that we have been producing, and we're so excited because it is now in print as of this year.
Physical print mailed to your house.
Yes.
Or wherever you get your mail.
If you're in the United States. The March issue just arrived in my mailbox. So if you're a subscriber, you should be looking for your March issue.
Yay.
It'll come soon if it's not there right now. But if you're not, you're going to want to check this out. This is an amazing magazine. It comes out every single month. It's got all sorts of articles in here from kids projects, herbalists, master preservers chiming in here. It has a ton of recipes. It's got inspiration, and it's really, really pretty. So we're really excited about this. Make sure you go, we'll put the link down below, but grab your subscription to this right now. We also have gift subscriptions if you want to give it to a friend, anything like that. This is going to be really, really helpful to you in your journey. There's so many great recipes in here.
This is one of those magazines that over the years, you're going to want, like, you know,
your collection.
That collection that you see, that you go back and look at and reference. This is really that. What Carolyn and the team have put together is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. It's fun. It's been really fun, but it's one that we pull out all the time in our house because it has our recipes in there. And so it's just really easy to find. So yeah, definitely want to check that out.
Cool.
All right.
Let's see.
Oh, you're going to do another one?
Yeah. Did we want to get you one?
Sure.
I mean, you know, we're kind of free form here today. So Carolyn on Stop Making for you from Captain's Lady on Stop Making These 7 Sourdough Mistakes.
Okay.
What do you do with a sourdough starter that's not growing?
So if you were sitting here, I'd ask you a few questions to qualify exactly what you mean by it's not growing.
It depends. That's what she's saying.
It depends. Because by not growing, I'm guessing what you mean is that it is alive and bubbly, but it's not actually rising very much. You know, it can take up to a month for your sourdough starter, sometimes even longer, for your sourdough starter to mature enough to really rise to the point that it passes the rise test, you know, where you're getting it to double right after a feeding. It can take a while. It just takes a while for everything to become strong enough, all the bacteria and yeast in there, to really get the strength to be able to do that. So if it's a brand new starter, I would say just keep feeding it and giving it time. If it's an older starter and you're experiencing that, that usually means you have something that you're doing that is kind of knocking back its vitality. That can be using chlorinated or treated water in it. That can be a really big one. It can be that you're putting it in something that you've washed with regular dishwasher detergent. That stuff is toxic, you guys. It is really not good, and your dishwasher does not rinse it off well. So I always tell people, don't use something that's been washed in the dishwasher if you're using regular old, buy it at the grocery store type of dishwasher detergent. Either switch to something that's totally non-toxic. We love Truly Free in our house. It works really well and it's actually really clean. Or hand wash it. So those are the different things that you want to think about that could be happening with your sourdough starter there. Otherwise, my guess is it's just time. It could be temperature too. You could be in a really cool environment. Your kitchen could be really cool, and that could be kind of, you know, reducing its ability to rise. So you might want to check the temperature. So yeah, there you go.
You're pretty cool. You are smart.
I've got a lot of experience with trying to make things live, especially in the kitchen.
Failure is a good teacher. Right?
Failure is a very good teacher. I have killed a sourdough starter in just about every way possible, I think. Like, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. My job is to make all the mistakes and to figure it out so that you guys don't have to. So I can keep you from having to make all those mistakes. So
like it.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. All right. The state of the homestead.
So I've been thinking.
That's dangerous, just so you know. She starts
Why is
thinking.
it that everybody around me says that?
Well, there you go. It's not just me.
When I say that, so I've been thinking, I often get a lot of groans. It's like, oh no, here we go. It's another project.
Here's the thing, though.
Here's the thing.
It usually invokes a challenge of some sort, a mountain to climb, a fence to hurdle.
Isn't that the fun of life?
But it's usually turns out really, really cool, I gotta say. Usually. There are a few. There's been a few things, like an incidents with cayenne that didn't work out so good.
Okay,
but
right,
you know.
See, I make all the mistakes, including sometimes in herbal medicine. And so you guys don't have to. Don't suggest that your husband puts cayenne up his nose.
I was going to say, I should get a little credit here because I'm the guinea pig.
I don't know if we call it credit. You're like, cayenne up my nose? Okay, if you say so.
You're so smart. I trust you.
Well, maybe a little less after that incident.
Definitely.
Don't do it. Just don't. It doesn't matter what the internet says. Don't try it, okay? It's not a good plan.
Anyways, you've been thinking.
I've been thinking about family. This is maybe a little bit of an undeveloped thought, so you may have to bear with me a little bit.
You're half thinking.
Okay, I'm half thinking. I'm currently thinking about the idea of families being the backbone of society. Okay, so this is kind of something that we say.
We're all with you. We'd all agree with that.
Okay. I'm thinking of the homestead as an extension, like a physical extension of the family, right? The homestead is this kind of the home that is providing for the family that's in it. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about how we've been doing a really good job over the last couple of years providing enough food for ourselves. We're actually getting to a place where we don't need to grow any more vegetables for the humans on our property to consume. We actually have enough, which is pretty cool. We've worked really hard. We worked decades to get to that point where I'm going, no, we don't need to expand anymore. We have enough. We actually have more than we need sitting in the pantry. Same thing with like some of our dairy products, some of our, meat that we're raising, some of that. And I was thinking about that spillover idea that the stability of a family, that kind of spills over into creating stability in a community, which spills over into creating, stability in, say, the state or the county, and then works its way up. And the more stable families we have, the more stable our whole country becomes. I mean, ultimately the world, right? So I was thinking about that idea of spillover, and that really when we're talking in permaculture, this would be the idea of surplus, of producing a surplus. And so we've been kind of flirting around the edges with surplus and what we do with surplus here on the homestead. And, one of the things we're doing is a little bit of a farm business. We're just kind of starting to work with this idea, right? Is producing chickens. This year we're doing chickens and turkeys. We may throw some winter squash in for a little farm stand on the road, maybe a few other things going on that we're producing here that we have extra of. And, when you hear the things that are going on with tariffs and all of this stuff, I'm thinking, wow, homesteads really are the stabilizing force in all of this. The more homesteads that we have that are producing for themselves and producing that little bit of surplus that we can feed into the community, the more these broader world events and food system events affect our whole community less.
We shield that.
We really do. And so
eggs is a great example.
Eggs is a wonderful example. We have so many small egg producers. When we drive down our road, there's at least 3 driveways with signs for eggs out, where you can go buy eggs there. Their prices are not going up like the grocery store prices. Sure. Because, that's not really the problem. It's not that the feed has gotten super expensive. It's that, we're losing chickens across nationwide in the commercial growers. And, so we have a lot of stability here where it's like, I don't want to pay $8 at the grocery store. I've heard reports of up to $12 per dozen at the grocery store in some areas. So we just are still going to our neighbors, getting those, if people aren't going to their own backyards and getting their own chicken eggs, they're going to their neighbors who are producing more than they need for their household. And they're getting them still for $3 to $5, whatever they were to begin with per dozen. And so I started thinking about responsibility in community. And, I think it would be a stretch to say we're all responsible to feed into the community. But I think looking at the idea that the more that stable families, the more that stable homesteads start to share their surplus and actually offer it for sale, because we all know in our community, you could say, oh, I'm going to give this stuff away. And that's great.
Which there's times for that.
There are times for that. But as far as like, you know, I'm not going to drive down the road and feel good about going and getting somebody's free eggs all the time because I can afford to pay for eggs. I should leave those for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody has them for sale, I'm absolutely going to go and support those people over going to the grocery store. It also saves me some money. So this ability of starting small farm stands, this idea of doing that, and, you know, even if all you have is some extra heads of lettuce or, you know, whatever it is, starting to feed back into the community and thinking of it as a community service rather than necessarily even an income source. Yes, you want it to be a good business. You want it to, you know, help pay into your homestead. You know, don't want to be selling eggs for a loss, any of those things. But changing that mindset and going, this is actually a community service that I'm providing. Anyways, that's what I've been dwelling on a little bit.
Well, I think those are awesome thoughts. That is the point of surplus. I mean, it should be the point to me of surplus of even profit, right? The profit is just another word for surplus, for the excess that you produce, whether it's in a business or on the homestead, you know. And the goal should be to produce surplus. If we're going to have these efforts, now we're learning. You start where you're at. You start generally in the homesteading world not being able to produce enough for yourself. But you build skills, you build systems over time, that increases, and eventually there's surplus. You need some of that surplus to put back into the land to create that fertility, but then you start to create a cycle in a loop, and then you start to have extra where you can then feed into your community in these various ways, right? And I would, you said you wouldn't go as far to say that it's a responsibility. I don't know. I would say, let's think about that, not necessarily out loud right here, but let's think about that a little bit more. I would suggest that maybe it is a responsibility, that we are responsible for our brother to a degree, right? And our sister, and we are responsible to contribute. And, you know, to produce is something we've built our life on, and raising our kids to teach people to produce more than they consume. Well, if you produce more than you consume, and that's a value, what we're saying is a value is there needs to be extra. We need to produce more than we consume. That extra goes somewhere, whether it feeds back into the, you know, agricultural loop, whether it feeds back into the need of somebody, whether it feeds into a business that then provides a product or a service that somebody else needs, plus eventually providing more jobs or work. That's what makes our community, our county, our state, our nation strong. Ultimately, and that's what this country and many most successful countries are built on, is right here starting at what you're talking about, and that contribution. And when we all do that, how much more resilient are we in the face of whatever comes? And we're in changing times. Whatever you think about the moment right now versus the moment 6 months ago versus the moment in 4 years from now, whatever you think about that, what we know is we're facing a lot of shift and a lot of change, economically, politically, socially. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I believe there's going to continue to be. And there's going to continue to be challenges and changes. The more that this is the power that we have, right? The more that we're connected to the land, connected to each other, the more stability we create in the midst of all of this. Proverbs 27, end of Proverbs 27. Look that up. I won't try to quote it right now. But it speaks exactly to what we're talking about. Yeah. So great thoughts. Love it.
Well, and I think there's two sides of this too, right? You have the providing something into the community, but you then also have the consumer side. Every time you drive past that egg sign on your way to the grocery store to buy eggs at the grocery store, you know, you're making a decision that you're supporting something that is not very stable instead of stabilizing your community. And so that to me is like, ooh, we should really be thinking about that. Like, do you want that stability in your community? If you do, you need to support it.
Which means you got to go out of your way a little bit. And that's almost a whole nother discussion. And we'll probably talk about this more around the farm to table this summer, because that's part of what we're encouraging. And part of my message talking to people is like, you know, if we care about this, besides growing our own food, we got to go out of our way a little bit to get those eggs, to get that lettuce, to whatever it is from somebody local.
Right.
Or encourage somebody local if you know somebody that has the ability. Like, hey, I'll buy from you. You've got a good plot, or you're doing a good thing. I'll buy from you if you produce a little extra.
Yeah.
You know, we have to be willing to take a few extra steps if we want that to become more the norm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good thought.
All right, that was.
All
right.
Stop at the egg stand. It might be empty at the moment because everybody's stopping at the egg stand. But, you know, look up your local ranchers and support them. Order your meat this year from somebody local.
Grow surplus. What is your property or situation incline itself to that you could produce a little extra? Even now, even if you're not super far on your journey, what can you do a little extra? For us, we're doing chickens, right? Meat chickens. We're already out there doing the motion. Been doing that for a few years, and so that's growing a little bit because it's right in motion. We've got the space for it, and you know, the winter squash. There's different things. Look at what you can do, and so to provide yourself to that, to feed into that economy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. What is going on with you?
What is going on?
What is your state on the homestead?
Well, the shelf with all the plant starts is getting full. So we've been starting a lot.
We got onions in there.
We have onions in there. We have leeks in there. Today we've got lots of other little things, spring things starting.
Yeah.
And we see soil starting to appear, at least in the terrace gardens out front where it gets a lot of sun. We're seeing soil in the beds, and that's really exciting. That means we'll be able to put out cold frames and get some little starts out there, you know, in 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere. So we kind of are right in that, what do you call this? This is the swing season. This is mud season.
But the sun's coming out more. The robins are showing up.
It's hopeful.
Spring's coming.
It's coming. Yeah. It's not here, but it's coming, and it's starting to show itself a little bit. So it gets exciting.
It does.
But it also, all of a sudden, you go from this moment of like, it's just winter. We're just doing homeschooling and indoor things and hanging out by the fire, knitting our socks and stuff like that. To like, I have a lot to do. I better get going. Get moving. So that's where I'm at. That's kind of what's going on around here. Starting to take stock of pantries and where are we at here at the end of the season. So it feels like the pressure is starting to build to get stuff done. So how about you?
Definitely relating to that thought. I think the two things that I'm doing it on my mind. One is certainly the garden planning. We've got the main crop garden planned, but we're doing a lot of extra. We're going to grow a lot of extra winter squash this year for feeding pigs, animals. We're going to grow, I haven't decided if we're going to grow extra corn or not, but definitely going to grow some roots, some mangels or something. And we're going to grow a lot of sunflowers. You know, you're doing a lot on your end on the terraces. We're going to grow up by main crop a lot of extra sunflowers. So we're going to produce more, and this is all for animal feed. So been thinking about that, planning that, and just starting to get excited. And then, the snow's melting. So I'm getting to walk around and start to just survey the land and survey things, and, you know, looking at the feed storage and the hay storage, and, you know, making sure, hey, do we have enough to get till we have pasture, and just starting to check those things. And I can walk around, examine fences. And so it's kind of all that, which definitely increases that. I got a lot to do, but right now it's kind of fun just to get out and just be surveying and either taking physical notes or mental notes of what do I need to start planning for? What do I need to do now that the snow is receding and can see the property? And that's fun. That's exciting. Not getting out there yet, but the full rush hasn't hit. So
anything in sunshine is exciting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Warm sun.
That's
Saturday was so nice and warm.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
That's good. We'll take a few more of those.
But it's good. Here it comes. It is on its way.
Yeah.
Getting excited for spring. Yep.
Hopefully you've done your garden planning. You've planned any livestock projects you're doing this year. If you haven't ordered chickens, you may be too late. They are moving fast this year because I think there's a lot of people looking at egg prices and going, maybe I should grow my own. So
I think so.
Get on it fast.
Hey, I'm shopping for a bull too. Looking for a bull.
Bull shopping.
Or cows. Yep.
Good.
Need a big handsome fella.
All right.
Hang out with the girls.
We always need more of those around.
What?
Okay. Well, good.
All right.
Good
deal. The state of the homestead is sound. I like it.
Doing well.
Spring
Getting busy.
on. All right, you guys.
Good to hang out with you.
See you soon.
Goodbye.